Hello everyone, my name is Nitish Pandey and I'm excited to share with you the completion of my internship project under Ineuron, where I focused on analyzing a Deloitte case study. Over the past few weeks, I have been deeply engaged in studying this case using various analytical techniques to understand this data. Today, I'm eager to walk you through the field of my analysis and the journey I took to uncover them. From collecting data to interpreting results, the project has been an amazing exploration of real-world data and its significance. So without further delay, let's delve into the details of the Deloitte case study analysis, examining the challenges, method used, and the insights gained through this project. Starting with the problem statement, in this data analysis project, we aim to analyze and structure time series data related to some key economic indicators, including consumer price index, exchange rate, and export merchandise for more than 200 countries sourced by the World Bank. The data represent various financial service aspects such as credit unions, banks, insurance companies, and investment funds, and cover the period from the past to the present. Coming to the objective of this project, the provided data is unstructured and requires pre-processing. The individual should be able to transform and structure the data appropriately, extracting valuable insights to understand trends, patterns, and relationship among CPI, exchange rate, and export merchandise. Further, we need to perform year-on-year and compound annual growth rate calculations on the dataset to analyze the growth and fluctuations of economic indicators over time. The individual should be able to present this analysis effectively on the dashboard. In the last, we need to ensure that the graphical representation of data in this dashboard is dynamic in nature. When slices are applied to select a specific country and time period, the data in all the three charts should automatically adjust accordingly, providing a real-time insights. This is our model view. Model view consists of 8 tables: CPI annually, CPI monthly, exchange rate annually, exchange rate monthly, country currency, export merchandise monthly, export merchandise annually, and lastly we have a calendar table. Now, before moving towards the dashboard, let us understand some economical terms which we'll encounter in this project. Starting from the CPI. So CPI is a consumer price index. It is used to measure the gross changes in the price of a basket of goods and services consumed by a household. So government uses this CPI to measure the growth of a country, or how much there is a rise in inflation, or there is a fall in inflation in the particular country. By tracking these changes in the CPI over the time, economists and policymakers can understand how the purchasing power of a currency is affected and make decisions according to it. Now, this is a formula of inflation, which is current CPI minus initial CPI upon current CPI multiplied by 100. Now, let me give you an example of a CPI to make it a better understanding. So, suppose you went to a shop to buy a pen. Let's say that you are in 2020, and the price of the pen was 100 rupees. The very next year, you went to the same shop to buy the same pen. Now the shopkeeper asks you to pay 150 rupees. What does it mean? It means that there is a rise in CPI of that country. Directly, it means that there is a rise in inflation of that particular country. So to measure CPI and inflation of a country, we need to have some base year. So in this particular project, we are taking 2010 as a base year, and the CPI is 100. So if I say that CPI of India in 2015 is 150, it means that there is a rise in CPI by 50 as compared to 2010. It means that there is a rise in inflation. The country is going into the inflation. So below this, you can see that there is a pie chart available. This tell you that if a basket consists of goods and services consumed by a household, then out of those 100%, how much uh, is the weightage of different goods and services, like 46.2% on food, 2.27% on pan masala tobaccos, 6.43% on fuel, 15.27% on housing, 6.57% on clothing, 23.26% on miscellaneous things. So this tells that what is the distribution of CPI of that country. Now let us see other economic terms. The next economic term is exchange rate. So what is the exchange rate? It is a rate at which one currency can be exchanged with the another currency. Now let me tell you with the help of an example. Suppose my sister lives in America and I live in India. So in 2022, she sends me $100, and price of $1 was 80 rupees at that time. So I received 8,000 rupees in my bank account. In the very next year, there was inflation in India, and the price of $1 was now 90 rupees. So this time when she sends me $100, I received 9,000 rupees in my bank account. And the very next year there was a inflation in America. So now the value of $1 was 70 rupees. So this time I received 7,000 rupees in my bank account. So you can see that how there is a rise in inflation in the country can vary with the exchange rate of that particular country's currency. So this is very important to understand. I hope you understand this. Let's move to another economic term, that is export merchandise. So export merchandise involves selling domestically produced goods to customers in another countries. It is a crucial component of international trade, contributing to economical growth by generating revenue and creating jobs. Now let me give you an example. Suppose I am an exporter from India, and there is an inflation in my country and I want to export it to America. So there will be a challenges like the production cost will increase. Secondly, the competitiveness in the world market will also increase. So this can create a big loss for me. Now if suppose there is an inflation in country America and I am an exporter, so this will also create a loss for me. How? Let me explain it to you. So if there is a inflation in country America, so they will not spend more, like they will not try to import the things from other countries. So this will create a loss for us because we are not exporting much, because there is demand, there is a very less demand in other countries. So it's very important that inflation in both the country should be in a moderate range. Lastly, we have compound annual growth rate. So compound annual growth rate help us to find out what is the growth of the country throughout the period. In this particular project, we have taken out compound annual growth rate of all the three economical terms like CPI, export merchandise, exchange rate. So let's start. Let us start with the project, and this is our consumer price index report page. Here you can find the name of the country, their current CPI, their last year CPI, what was the inflation percentage, and this is the trend axis. From here you can select the name of the country. Also you can search it from here. From here you can select the year. We have from 1988 to 2018. From here you can select the quarter, and from here you can select the month name. Okay, and also if you select on this, it will clear all the slicer all at once. So and this is the inflation by country visual. So if I select one year, let me say if I select 2015, so you can find that the more red color circle it is, and the more bigger circle it is, it means that inflation in that country is much more higher. And if the circle is quite small, and it's very dim in color, it means that inflation is in that country is very low. You can just hover over this country and you can find the name. Like this is Russia with 15.53% inflation. It is a very high inflation. Below this you can see that this is Japan with 0.79% inflation. That is a very low inflation. From here in this table you can see that in 2015 which was the country which has the highest inflation rate. Like this is Venezuela. Their current CPI was very high. Their last year CPI was also very high. Inflation is 121.74%. One thing I have told you earlier, that we are comparing it with 2010. So here you can see that the CPI is 877. What does it mean? It means that suppose in 2010 the value of pen was 100 rupees in 2010. So in Venezuela the same pen in 2015 was 877 rupees. I hope you understand from this point. From also whenever we try to study an economic term, it is very important that how the top five world economics are performing in that particular year. So as we know that the top five world economies are China, Germany, India, Japan, and United States. So you can have a look at how these countries have deal with the inflation from 1988 to 2018. Like you can see that how they have performed. So after hovering over this, you will notice one thing, that China had the higher inflation in the late 90s with 24.25%, which is a very high inflation rate. Also, one thing you can note from here, that Japan went into deflation, like they went into negative. You can just see here, like they went into negative numbers. Uh, why this is called as world top five economies? One thing you will note from here is their inflation rate ranges between 0 to 5 percentage. If you look closely, if there is a high rise also, or any higher inflation or deflation also, it's not for a long period of time. They manage it very effectively. So that's why they are called as economy giants. Let's move to exchange rate. From here you can select the country name. From here you can select the year. Right now it's 2017, but you can select any year, like let me select 2010. From here you can select the quarter. From here you can select the month, and from here you can clear all the slices. So you can see that in 2010 Vietnam has the highest exchange rate. From here you can see the previous year exchange rate, year on year difference, and year on year difference in percentage. So you can see that exchange rate of Vietnam in 2010 was 19,125. One thing to keep in mind in this particular exchange rate report is that we are comparing it with the US dollar. To buy one US dollar, how much uh, particular country's currency we need to pay. So here we can see that for buying one US dollar, 19,125 Vietnam currency we need to pay. Left side you can see that we have exchange rate visual. This is the uh, symbol of your currency. Whichever currency you will select from here, you can select whatever currency you want. Right now I have selected Chinese yuan. If you want that how was my what was my exchange rate in 2018 for China, you can find that for buying one US dollar you need to pay 6.59 Chinese yuan in 2018. And if you stretch the scroller bar, you can find that how the exchange rate varied from starting from 1988 to 2018. So you can find that in 1988 3.73 Chinese yuan you need to pay to buy one US dollar, which changed to 6.59 in 2018. Here you can see that there is a spike in 1994, because earlier we saw that in CPI there was a increase in CPI for China in 1994. That means there was a inflation in China in 1994. So like this you can select whatever currency you want, and you can search like if I select for India, then you can find that how India has performed. You can see that in starting in 1988 we need to pay 15 rupees to buy one US dollar. That changed to 68.31 rupees in 2018. So like this you can find how much, like this you can find the exchange rate of other countries also. Let us move to another economic term, that is export merchandise. And in export merchandise we have a country name, we have year, quarter, month, whatever you want to select you can select from the slicers. In the left side you can see that we have export merchandise in billion dollars. As we know that there are four export merchandise giants like China, Germany, Japan, and United States. From here you can find that throughout the period starting from 1991 to 2018 how much billion dollar of export they have done. Here you can find the name of the countries, their export merchandise in billion dollar, last year export, and year on year difference. Here you can find the top exporter of that particular year. If I select, let me say 2006, you can find that who was the top exporter in that particular year. Here it is Germany with 1.2 trillion dollars. There is an indicator here which will tell you that as compared to the previous year, whether the sales are in upward direction or in the downward direction. See, Norway has done less sale as compared to the previous year. Similarly, these are the top 10 countries in that particular year who have done sales. So you can find that how much sales they have done in their previous year and what is their current year sales. Like Germany has done more sales as compared to the previous year. Here from here you can select your own countries also, like Argentina. I have selected Australia, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Chile. So like this you can find who are the top exporters by selecting your own countries. Like you can see that here Belgium has done more export as compared to other countries. Similarly, whatever country you want you can just select from the given slicer, and you can find out who has done more export. Now let us move to our last economic term, that is CAGR, compound annual growth rate. I have taken out CAGR for three economic terms like CPI, exchange rate, and export merchandise. Here you can see that annual growth rate of CPI is increasing rapidly in Belarus, Venezuela, Armenia, Brazil. These are the top 15 countries where annually the growth rate of CPI is increasing uh, rapidly. So you can find that there is 52% Belarus, 39% in Venezuela. In Armenia, it is 38% annually growing CPI. Below, you can see the scroller bar. Whatever period you want, you can just select from this. Like if I want after 2000, you can select from here and you can get the top 15 countries uh, with respect to what you have selected. Like we have, and still we have Venezuela, Belarus, Guyana, Malawi. So here you can find out. So with the help of this, you can find out the annual growth rate of CPI in the countries. From here, you can select the country name also. Like if I want about the India, then you can find out the what is the annual growth rate of CPI in India. You can see that it is 6% in India, starting from 2001 to 2018. If I see after 2010, uh, it dropped down to 5%. Then if for 2014 to 18, it dropped down to 3%. So similarly, you can also click on the slicers and find out for different countries. Now if I look on exchange rate, so this is the annual growth rate of compound annual growth rate of exchange rate. It means that, see, if there is a rise in CPI, it means that that the country is in inflation, and if the country is inflation, then the currency of that particular country will also become more weaker. It will rise the exchange rate. So as we saw in the previous visual, that CPI of Venezuela was higher. That's the reason why the exchange rate is also high. Similarly, you can see for other countries also. Here also you can select the countries according to your convenience, whatever you want, and you can also scroll bar according to it, whichever period you want. Like if I select between 2001 and 2018, you can find the countries which are in the top 10 position. Like see, you can see the annual growth rate is increasing by 383.45 percentage. So similarly, you can find for other countries also. Now moving towards the export merchandise, we can find that annual growth rate in export merchandise for Turkey is grown by 40%. You can find here that these are the top 15 countries whose annual growth rate in export merchandise is increasing uh, rapidly. Now let us see some insights which we have drawn from this project. So you can see that Brazil, Turkey, and Venezuela grapple with inflation due to the economic instability, political uncertainty, and mismanagement. Uh, we saw that Brazil has experienced inflation rate average around 6 to 8%. Turkey has seen inflation rate fluctuating between 10 to 20%, and Venezuela faced hyperinflation as we saw in the visuals. Also, Japan has faced deflation as we saw after 1990s. Uh, Angola, Mexico, and Russia have experienced significant exchange rate fluctuation due to the economic volatility, geopolitical tensions, and dependence on commodity export. For more insights, we will click on this more button. United States of America and China have performed the best in terms of maintaining the inflation rate, as they have maintained the inflation rate between 2 to 4% for more than a decade. Also, to control the inflation in countries like Brazil and Armenia, where inflation was at its peak in the year 1993 to 1994, government took initiatives to control the rising inflation rate. Like government pursued a contrary monetary policies where government reduced the money supply with an economy by increasing the interest rate, which will further make the credit more expensive. Saw that in China, exports skyrocketed from 60 billion to 2 trillion dollars, becoming the world's top exporter. Germany and United States have reached over 1.5 trillion till 2018. Also, we saw that Japan was also one of the biggest exporters. It has reached $800 billion till 2017, which makes a major player for a global market. And lastly, Belarus has the highest annual growth rate CPI of 52%. Turkey has the highest CAGR export merchandise rate of 39.58%. and Venezuela has highest CAGR exchange rate with 75.373%.